Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So, one of the things we need to talk about is 5 goals to get started on your financial journey, right? These are simple goals, just to get your foot in the door, right? Get you started. Cuz you got to start somewhere, right? So, we want to make this as easy as we can, right? Because, a lot of people make New Year's resolutions in January, new things they're going to do, but there's nothing magical about January. So, if you want to get started on your financial journey now and you need things to get started, it could be right now, right? Because the best time to make change or set a goal is today. So, if you're ready to level up in your life, there's no time like the present. We're going to go over some good habits that you should probably consider starting. The first thing, commit to a written budget, right? And review it kind of frequently, right? Because that's going to be the very first thing that you're going to want to do, right? Commit to a budget. Because having a budget is the cornerstone and foundation for financial success. Knowing where your money is going, more importantly, not going, can help you understand where you're at. If you had trouble making or keeping a budget, resolve to start a budget now. Yeah, there's some tools like Mint that can be, a great way to put your budget on autopilot, right? Remember that a budget is just a tool to help you to not spend money on the things you don't find important so that you have money to spend on things that you do find important. If you already have a budget, make it a habit to review your budget. At least, say, every 30 to 60 days, right? That can help you identify, where you might be able to make improvements. As you start or recommit to your budget, make sure that it's written down. Budgets that are not written down, like goals, tend to fall by the wayside very easily. The second thing that I want to talk about, start or build your emergency fund. Another great habit to get into is saving this extra money, for about 3 to 6 months for an emergency fund, right? An emergency fund should be one of the very first things you do with any extra money you have in your budget. Even before working on eliminating your debt or saving for retirement, it makes a lot of sense to set aside money for emergencies. So a good rule of thumb is to start with something about like a $1,000 emergency fund. It may not cover, big emergencies, but it can help you avoid having to spend on your credit cards when the unexpected happens. After you started that basic emergency fund, then that's when we can build it up, right? While also starting to pay off debt or invest for the future. If you can, it's a good idea to have a couple months of expenses in your emergency fund. That way you're covered for a while in case you lose an income source or have a major emergency. A lot of places will tell you that what you want to do is have, like I said earlier, 3 to 6 months worth of emergency funds so that if you lose your job or something like that, you're able to pay all your bills until you find a new job. So however long you think it would take you to find a new job is about how much you want to go with. Personally, I currently have 4 months worth of emergency fund, and I'm working towards 6 months. But I feel like within 3 to 4 months, I could probably, very easily find another job. So the next thing we're going to jump into, make a plan to eliminate your debt, right? Because, a really good habit is to start or continue to eliminate your debt. Depending on how much debt you currently have, it may not be realistic to pay off all of your debt this year. But no matter what, we should have a plan in place. There are a variety of different debt repayment strategies. The debt snowball, the debt avalanche, right? And I'm sure you've heard these before, especially if you listen to people like Dave Ramsey and stuff like that, right? It's important to pick a debt payoff approach that works for you, right? Make sure it's one that works for you, right? Don't just pick one and say, this is what I'm going to do. There's so many different types. Make sure you pick one that you feel like you can stick to, right? Because you really need to stick to it. And then make it a habit to spend less than you earn and then work towards becoming debt free. That's going to move us on to the next thing, right? Spending with purpose, right? Or with a purpose, right? Another great habit is living, within your means, right? And in order to do that, what can help you do that is to spend with a purpose. So, spending with a purpose just means that you're conscious with your spending, right? If you ever find yourself wondering, you know, man, I know I just had money here, where did it all go? You may benefit from being more deliberate with your spending. A lot of people find success by setting a rule about any non essential spending. So, for example, before you make any purchases besides essentials like rent, utilities, and debt payments, right, you must write it down. Just the act of writing it down or taking a picture of it, that's enough for a lot of people to be more deliberate and conscious about what they choose to spend their money on. So this is going to move us into the last thing, and it's a big one. Pay yourself first, and then make sure to give yourself a raise. Because if you're like a lot of people out there, you might have good intentions, saving money each month, but at the end of the month, you find there's nothing left over after all the bills are paid. One habit that people who are, successful financially, they pay themselves first, right? Put your savings money aside at the beginning of the month. It's a bit of a mental trick, but many people find that having that money out of sight helps them to save more. Another financial habit to start is to always give yourself a raise. Whenever you get a raise at work or come across any extra money, immediately put it either in your emergency fund or use it to pay down your debt. Putting any raise or extra money, towards your savings instead of increasing your standard of living, it's a fantastic habit, and I could not recommend it more. The way that I do mine is, like, let's say I get a 2% raise every year. I take that 2% and I put 1% towards my retirement and then 1% towards my emergency fund. So I never even see that 2%, right? And this is going to be a great habit to start, especially if you're young or just starting out in your professional life, right? Because of course, paying yourself first and giving yourself a raise, it doesn't mean that you have to only eat ramen and you can't have nice things. But thanks to compound interest, the sooner you start to save and invest, you will be much better off, right? So I hope these 5 tips are going to help you guys kind of get started on your financial journey. Hope this helps someone out there. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and smash that like button. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Until I see you guys in the next video, y'all be safe.